Uh, everyone. As we all know, this is mainly about lending aggregation, but lending aggregation as such is part of the entire OIO network that we have, or the OIO framework we call it, which is nothing mainly about, which mainly deals about how we capture consent, starting from very user who provides the consent all the way till we send it back to Adobe and CRM and various outbound, right? So I'll just give a brief about that, and then we'll can go a little more into the how the landing aggregation logic revolves around. We'll try to explain what is landing aggregation and other details, how it is implemented, the mapping logic and all. I think this we can go and check the mapping uh, altogether. But yeah, for now I will focus on the functionality and what we do, why we do, and how we do. Let me start sharing my screen, and let me know once you all can see it. Can you all see my screen? Am I audible?
Yes, Dinesh.
Okay.
Screen is visible. Huh?
So, OIO, as I said, right, we receive consent. Consent is always associated with communication, and the communication can be of different types. We have received, right, phone, email, fax, etc., etc. And majorly our source of consent are through inbound files or through consent APIs, uh, where user can directly submit a consent and we receive it. This consent API obviously comes through integration team, and then these files, uh, generic files we receive. We have generic file, and for US mainly we have monthly incremental files and other files, which we load it into our system, and then the data comes to MDM. But from here onward, I mean, till this point, it all generic, and this aggregation logic is only for US. For other countries, we do not have any aggregation logic or other details, right? And US is the only region for which we receive consent at product level. Other regions, the consent is at the communication value level only. Let's say if you have an email, you say that email is opt-in or opt-out. That's it. But for US, we can say email can be opted in for a specific product only or opted out for a specific product, right? So that's the difference, and that's precisely why what derives the aggregation as well. We have to go to that granularity level, right? So the OIO framework is like we get the inbound, we calculate our aggregation, and before starting the aggregation calculation, there are other details that are required for aggregation, which are specs and contextual exclusion. These specs and contextual exclusion are basically, when I say specs, it's specialty brand metrics that because life science is a regulated area, not everybody can prescribe every product, right? A person who has specialty in certain domain can only access or subscribe to certain products only. So that way there are restrictions with each specialty and product combination. So for a specialty, a product may be opted in, for some other it may be opted out. So that combination is stored at specs level, and this detail is basically maintained by business. We just pull that detail and store it within our system. And then contextual exclusion is again something like Henry Ford is let's say one kind of or Kaiser is one kind of contextual exclusion. Just to give an example, where it means that anybody who is associated to a Kaiser hospital will be excluded altogether, right? So that level of exclusions are there. Then there could be AMA, PDRP, opt-out, and different various exclusions are there basically. So we have to take that into consideration. A person can say I want to opt in, but if the person also have a contextual exclusion, so we cannot ignore that part, right? So we have to consider both before driving the aggregation. So these are the various factors or the inbound data that we need to have before we start doing the aggregation calculation. Any questions so far? Not, then next part is definitely to do the calculation, and then this data goes into the landing table. Till here it was in MDM, it goes to RBO landing, and from RBO landing it goes to RBO aggregation. There the logic is not to calculate aggregation, it's more like delta detection. If anything is no longer valid, solve the data. If anything is now valid, activate it, or if a record has merged, delete the record instances for the loser record, those kind of things. But aggregation is more or less calculated till landing part only. And then we have OIO publish table, and then OIO framework, which is integration team that sends the actual data to CRM and Adobe. So this is how the end-to-end flow looks like. So any doubt on this flow before we jump to the specific of aggregation logic?
I'm good so far.
Okay. Moving on. So on high level, the requirement, I mean, this is before demo 7, I'm saying. In demo 7, there has been few changes, and going forward, there will be more changes coming up which are in pipeline. But this is the as is state that I'm trying to explain. First is the requirement was that for email channel. So again, point out this aggregation, as I said, is only used for US, and within US we only send two types of communication. Now we do aggregation only for two types of communication. One is email, one is face-to-face. Face-to-face is straightforward, one entry, one exit. If a record has face-to-face, it's opted out, that's it. But for email, entire complexity lies in the email. So the email requirement was that we should have entry at the channel value level. When I say channel value, so few terminologies. Channel level means email level. Any email, that's the channel level. Channel value becomes that a person can have multiple emails, primary email, secondary email, right? So consent are derived at the channel value level, and then we have product level and so on. So the requirement was that to create a aggregate record for every email at the channel value level with null brand, and the consent status, like if it's considered for promotion, then and there's no exclusion in all this thing, otherwise it will be excluded. As I said, right, if we have context exclusion, automatically it becomes excluded. So this is the first part of requirement. Then in email value level with brand. So brand is also known as product. I was talking about product, it's nothing but brand. So for an email level value, there could be a brand. So at that level, we have to derive the aggregation. And then while calculating brand, as I said, we have to keep specialty exclusion, which is specs, into consideration as well. And after that, let's say there are, for a specialty in exclusion table, we have generally at this point, every specialty, there are 31 brands associated with it, which are tracked in specialty exclusion. But these 31 are not the entire universe of brand, right? A person can send out a consent for brand outside the specialty exclusion as well. So those will be treated as per the whatever the consent that we have received. Those will not be impacted by the specialty exclusion. And if there is no exclusion and other thing, then these consent, the aggregation is done based on the time at which the consent is received. This is very important, because a person can send opt out and then becomes opt in again. So we have to consider what is the latest consent a person has provided. And then we go to the face-to-face channel. The face-to-face, as I said, is opted out directly for face-to-face. So there's just one entry, no other logic of brand and other details here. Now, on high level, this is what they wanted in aggregation table, right? that there should be an email where product is null. There should be an email where there are product. And while doing this, please consider the specialty matrix aggregation and consent timing frame, right? But if we keep few things out within consent table, we have to ensure that all the uh, like hierarchy is maintained as well, right? Not just the timing. Apart from timing, there's a hierarchy of what comes at what level. So those hierarchy are explained here. Uh, First one is this says party level, uh, or just before the hierarchy, we will just start one by one. Uh, if you have an aggregation conflict where uh, as I said, right, we have to take consent, we have to take specs, we have to take contractual exclusion, multiple details into consideration, and then comes up with the final aggregation, right? So there's a possibility that one of it says opt-in, one of it says opt-out, right? You can always come with conflict with different inputs. So if there is a conflict, then opt-out will get the high priority. That's one clarity, right? Then second thing is consents are applied based on the time at which they are received, and the latest one gets a priority, right? In that case, if you have opted out and then opted in again, then in that case we don't have to say okay, opt out should get that priority because of the first point, because there's no conflict. We know that the latest is opted in, so we will go with opt in. Okay. uh, Third point is when we receive data through inbound source or generic file, for US by default we opt in everybody, right? So that's a default uh, consent, right? But user can submit explicit consents as well. So the explicit consents are, that's why given higher priority, because that's coming directly from the user or data stewards. Whereas opt-in was directly because there was a communication given, we have to by default create a consent of opt-in. So explicits are given priorities over implicit. Any question till this point? Okay, move on. So if these things are considered aside, now how do we receive consent, or what level we can receive consent, right? Uh, So consent can be received at party level, channel value level, and product level for email channel. So I'll give example for each one there. So party level is that an HCP tells uh, do not communicate with me. It doesn't matter if it's an email or face to face or whatever it is. The party has or HCP has told that just don't communicate with me. So that's a party level communication consent, right? Then channel level. A person can say that do not email me. You can call me or anything, but do not email me, right? So that becomes channel level. Then channel value level is that okay, I have two emails. You can reach out to me on one of the emails, not on the other emails, right? So that becomes channel value. And then product is further drilled down that okay, for that specific email, don't send me any communication for certain products based on specialty or whatever the likings. But yes, that is the level till which consent can be provided, and we have to consider all this while doing the calculation. And this is where basically I'm trying to explain little bit like how each and every attribute is connected. What are the steps? This will be little technical. I can show an example. Try to show an example and then see how it goes. And just to be little more clear, this hierarchy has to be maintained, but with this above point as well, right? It is always possible that example is that a person says do not email me, right? So you are opted out at email level or email level. Then same person at CP can say, okay, now email me for that specific ID, right? And suppose that that person had 4 or 5 emails beforehand, right? So if there were 5 emails, when a person said do not email me, it becomes opt out for all 5 emails. Now if a consent comes that opt in for one email, then we have to apply both. First we have to opt out all 5, then we have to opt in that one email, right? So end result should be 4 emails opted out and 1 email opt in, right? So that is what we have to ensure that uh, not everything should be applied all the time. It has to be sequentially applied so that all these criteria are fulfilled.
So, Dinesh, I have one question here.
Yes.
So, let's say first I had opted out on email level. Okay. Then tomorrow I opt in for one specific email. Now at channel level, what is the consent? Opt in?
No. So there's no channel level or anything. See, these channel level, everything is how we receive an input. For aggregation, as I said, right? When the output comes, what business want is that at any channel value level, it has to be provided. For every email, start giving me aggregation value, right? They every time, if you have 15 email, it has to be for every email you have to specify what is the consent. It's just that for doing input you need not say okay opt out for 1 2 3 4 5. You can simply say opt out from email. Then I will as an output say email 1 opt out, email 2 opt out, and all the things. The requirement when we give output is at the email value level, even though we receive input at the channel level altogether, right? So in that case you will, as I said, right, be opted out for all the emails and opted in for one specific email. So it will be email 1 opt out, 2 3 4 opt out, email 5 opt in, and email 5 again. Here if you see, there has to be one entry with null brand, and then there has to be other entries with brand, right? So there will be one email opt in with no product, then email with 31 products in the specs that we have, each of which accordingly it will have the opt-in or opt-out in the matrix. So that has to be applied.
Okay.
Let me see if this example. Okay, it has. And one more thing. So far, I mean, it might change over the time, but so far, if an email is inactivated, we still do aggregation calculation for that email. The reason being that, as I said, right, email can come at channel level altogether, right? So if a person was using an email previously, now have moved to another email, but person says that don't send me emails at all, then we have to tell that, okay, there was a previous email associated with this person that also has to be opted out in case person activates that email, right? It doesn't mean that the consent has changed. The consent is still says that don't send me email. So I'm switching back to the old email doesn't mean you start sending email, right? So that's why inactive consents are also emails are also considered while calculating aggregation. Okay, so this is one example where we have, I mean, not at the party level. Party level is very rare. I mean that if someone says altogether opt out, mostly these are always you will find a communication type code is populated. 99.99% you will get it. So here, these first two entries you will see, they do not have product. So these are email value level opted out, right? That sorry, consent. This email, and this is the consent which says opt-in. This is not an explicit, so it has come through our DMD source, and this is one more email for which it is opt-in. Now this email again, there is a opt-out for this specific product, right? So here, now if I have ordered it by last update date, right? So this opt-in becomes latest. But if we consider the explicit indicator, which I told that explicit are given priorities, right? So for this party communication ID, all the 31 specialties will be included as part of specialty exclusion. But for this line number 3, this product, it has to be opted out. Even if the specs matrix says opt-in, we have to opt out because the specialty exclusion has come. Sorry, it is explicit, plus opt-out takes precedence over opt-in, right? So if you are able to connect with all the requirement or the priority here, that opt-out should always be given high priority, and explicit should also be given high priority, right? Here the time is taken into consideration, but then explicit and opt-out will always take priority. So that's why this product will be opted out for this email, even though there is a default opt-in coming here, right? And then these products, it does not say email ID, right? So that means this product will be opted out for all these emails as well. This line number 3 ending with 6092, this is opted out only for the email ID ending with 964, but the line number 4 product will be opted out for both line number 1 and line number 2, these two emails, because it does not say which email to opt out. It simply says opt me out at email level, right? So that's how these things are combined together, and the final aggregation is arrived at. And then as I said, these are the basically various tables where we store data. We take data from specialty, and as I said, right, when the specs matrix is applied based on specialty and inclusion and exclusion, so we take only the primary specialty. Of course, on US we know, right, we can receive specialty with various ranks. We have to only take the primary one while joining with the brand matrix. This exclusion table stored all the exclusion data. Brand matrix is used for that specialty specs matrix data, and then this consent is basically the individual consent that we have received. And here we are doing the data detection. Basically, if the party has merged, or if an aggregation is no longer valid, or a new aggregation comes, and then we push the data to OIO publish table. This was recently introduced a few demos back, and then integration team reads data from OIO publish and start pushing it to CRM and Adobe. Before this OIO framework or this part came up, we had a batch job as part of any other CRM batch job that we have, where we send out to account and address and all. Similarly, we had a job to write data to multi-channel, but that job is no longer required because now we have integration team involvement here, where they send data to CRM and Adobe. Any question? I mean, that's pretty much on the high level of functionality, which part we do, why we do, and how part. I mean, we can go through the mapping and try to understand that. Any question? Anybody? Anything else? And Lalit, if you want to add anything on what's new that we are doing as part of demo 7.
Yeah. So Dinesh, I think when we cover the how we're doing that in the mapping, at that time it will be good to cover what are the new changes we did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this should be good for now. I also have a QA cycle issue which I need to. Okay. Yeah.
So that's pretty much from my side then. If needed, we can have one more session as needed.
Thank you so much, Dinesh.
Thank you, Dinesh.
Yeah, thank you, Dinesh.
Do anyone has any questions, or do we need to have another session?
Yeah, I think we can have one more session on the mapping.
That really helps.